Hey everyone! So I'm back here again with my mom, and last time we were here we were telling you guys about how life on the other side works. This time we're going to be talking about how life on Earth works. And if you haven't seen the other video, please go back and watch it. Some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is going to be building on what's in the other video. So it's really going to help you to understand what exactly we're talking about in this video. So life on this planet has always been really confusing to me. I mean, so much makes absolutely no sense. I mean, the biggest thing is, have you ever noticed that when things are going really, really good and you're just finally getting into the groove, all of a sudden something happens and it just blows it all to hell? Well, apparently there's a reason for that. You want to tell us?
Okay. So, a lot of the information that I have about life here on Earth does come from memories of what I can remember from earlier lives, as well as memories of what I can remember from life on the other side. However, these were disconnected bits and pieces. What finally brought the whole thing into a cohesive whole was actually reading a book called Emmanuel's Book that a friend of mine gave me. She had told me that somebody from the other side was talking to somebody here on Earth, and this book was full of all of his words of wisdom. And initially I was thinking, oh yeah, right, sure, because I'd been down that road before, and
plenty of people have.
Yes, and it's always ending up being, oh, my friend the Archangel Michael this, or the Archangel Gabriel that, or the ancient mysteries, something else. And of course, remembering what it's like to be on the other side, nobody names nothing on the other side. Angels do not have names. We don't get names until we come here to Earth.
Because we need to be identified in some other way.
Because we can't communicate telepathically like we normally do when we're on the other side. If you're communicating telepathically, you don't need a name for anything.
No.
In any case, point being is that now I have an understanding of the whole big picture. And believe it or not, it all starts with God. So if you're an agnostic or an atheist, my apologies. I'm not trying to preach religion here, but I can't leave her out of it because she started the whole thing. Apparently, a really long time ago, God noticed that her babies, who were all living on the other side with her, were getting bored with life there. Ain't that the way it is? When everything is perfect, we get bored.
Yes.
In any case,
that's why I'm stuck here.
What she decided to do was to take a portion of her own personal white light energy, because she's a being made of white light energy. She converted it into three-dimensional matter. And then she went, pow, to start making the three-dimensional matter spread out everywhere. Now you have to understand that originally there only existed what we call the other side, which is basically the real world. So when this matter began to spread out, it was spreading out inside a portion of the other side. So we're not actually separate universes like people seem to think. Oh, there's the other side, or there's heaven way up here.
In another dimension.
Yeah, and then there's Earth down here, and they have nothing to do with each other. No.
No.
The three-dimensional universe is a part of the other side. The only difference is that on the other side, you can take white light energy and temporarily convert it into whatever you want and use it. And then as soon as you stop concentrating it, it goes back. But when God converted her personal white light energy into three-dimensional matter,
it stayed.
It stayed because she commanded it to stay in that form. And that's the big difference. So if you've ever followed astronomy, you found out that over time everything has basically spread out. The sun went off on its direction. It took a whole bunch of matter with it that formed into planets, etc., etc.
And people are all upset about entropy.
In any case, let's now get to the nuts and bolts. When we're on the other side, under normal circumstances, we live there all the time. However, there are times when a person, and all of us are guilty of this, or we wouldn't be here.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We get to a point where we're watching people in the three-dimensional universe on whatever planet they're on, and we start looking at them going, wow, what they're doing is so cool. Look at the adventures they're having. Look at the relationships they're having. Look at all the cool things that they can do that we can't do here. Oh, I so wish I could go there and I could do all that cool stuff. Well, guess what? We're telepathically connected to God at all times. As soon as she hears some poor person thinking a thought like that, that thought goes right to God, she hears it, and the first thing she does is, bam, she sends out 2 angels to nab up that poor person, take him to a place which I call, and that's because I'm human, so I give it a name, I call it the jumping off point, where that person is going to be prepped and readied and brought down to an inhabited planet such as Earth to start the educational process.
Where we walk the plank.
Yeah. So, the real truth about the three-dimensional world is that this is like a boarding school. We are prepped, we are readied, we are brought down here, and we have to be locked into a physical body where we stay here for the length of time that physical body is alive. Once the physical body dies, then we get the opportunity to go back home and have a little bit of vacation time.
But the whole point of being here is to learn.
To learn
And experience.
and to have all of the really cool experiences, including the bad ones, that we don't have when we're back home.
Oh, God, yes, so many bad ones.
In point of fact, we do often have to go through bad experiences because, unfortunately, it's been found too often that when we're kind of sitting around in our comfort zone, we have a tendency to just sit in our comfort zone.
And we stop growing.
Yes. So bad things have to happen in order to trigger us to say, time to get off your duff, time to get moving, time to educate yourself, time to grow, time to expand,
Yeah,
time
but
to get out of your
It's
comfort
even
zone.
worse than that because sometimes we just want to keep doing things the same way we kept doing them before because it used to work.
It used to work.
Yeah. But now it's time for us to learn something different and we just do not want to let go. So
No.
they got to make us let go.
Yes. Sometimes a person...
Do or die literally means do or die with them.
Sometimes a person has to lose everything to make them change their focus, to make them change what it is they're doing. Somebody may have a perfectly good life and boom, they're in a car crash and they have brain damage, their body is damaged, whatever. And what they used to do before and how they used to live before, it's all
not
gone.
possible.
No. Now they have to completely change tracks. Now, if people understood that even a seemingly perfectly good life path had an ending point, and that ending point was coming up quick, you actually do have a choice. You can voluntarily leave that path. And the problem is, it's
People
within
don't
our
want
comfort zone. And it never occurs to us, well, why should I have to leave a perfectly good path? And that's when all hell breaks loose and they do something really terrible to make us leave that ending path and move along the next path that we want to go down or need to go down
Yeah.
for our education.
Yep.
So sorry for the bad news and hope that
The good news
helps.
is if you can understand this stuff and learn to identify it ahead of time, you can go, oh, maybe I should be doing this. I'm going to save myself a whole lot of heartache and look for something else. And by the way, usually the thing you least want to do, the thing that scares you the most, that's probably the one you're actually supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Which is why I'm on YouTube now. I wanted to just stay in my own little comfort zone, not talking to anybody, not interacting with them directly, or trying to get into public speaking at all. Oh my God, I always wanted to be behind the scenes if I was anywhere near the scenes. But no, that was not my life path.
And I've been hiding out from everybody my entire life.
Yeah.
Because when I did try to approach people and tell a few people here or there, they'd immediately start looking at me like, oh my God, she's full of cooties. Get me away from her as quickly as possible.
And then, of course, there's the avoidance of leadership.
There's the avoidance of leadership issue.
Yeah.
Because the last time I was in a leadership position, people died horribly in front of me.
And she learned the wrong lesson from it. Because it was actually intended to teach her something completely different.
Well, it was a karmic cycle coming
Yes. Basically, don't slaughter people. That's what she was supposed to learn. What she learned instead was, if I lead, everybody dies.
Yes. And I don't want any more blood on my hands.
Yeah.
I had more than enough.
Yeah. So it may make perfect sense to you that life should work in a particular way, but to be perfectly honest, it's entirely possible you simply learned the wrong lesson.
Yes.
And you gotta let go of it. I mean, it's terrifying. We both know this. The thing is, it's possible. Fear doesn't kill you. It makes you feel like you're going to die, but then you don't.
And if ever things are going really badly for you, I know a lot of people a lot of times have complained,
oh my God,
God
yes.
hates me. This is not true. If we're not moving forward with our educational program, then bad things happen to try to trigger us into changing. But God doesn't hate any of us down here.
It's meant to actually prevent future suffering, a lot more future suffering.
Yes.
Because the longer you're stuck on a bad path, the harder it is to dissuade you from it.
Yes. And the truth is, God really admires all of us who are here on this planet. And she misses everybody. But
She loves hugs.
yes, she has a hard and fast rule that she can't come to anybody here. We have to go to her on the other side, which was why I put up my website, lifebeforebirth.org, and then created the page called the Easy Skills page, which if you click on it, you learn how to white light yourself, take a white light shower, which keeps you clean and pure, and then to have a discussion with God where the two of you are talking right in front of each other or next to each other, however you choose to handle it.
And I'll be linking that down in the description of this video.
Yes. So she does miss all of us. She
Yes.
wants to see us. She wants to be able to chat with us. But we have to go to her. If people on the other side come to us and start talking to us about what life here is really about, then it ruins part of our educational process. Because the reason we can't remember anything on the other side or from earlier lives is to partly make it so we focus all of our attention right in the here and now. And the other part is to make it so we can't remember what subject we chose or what it is we're here to study. Imagine
It's like taking a test when you've got all the answers right in
It
front
is.
of you. Yeah, you look through the textbook when you're on the other side to find out, well, what do I want to study? It's got all the answers right there. But when you come down here, the answers are removed. Your book is blank.
because you have to use the maturity and the experience and the wisdom you've already garnered from your earlier experiences in order to apply those to whatever is new and facing you right now that you have to deal with.
Because it sticks much, much better from lifetime to lifetime if you have to fight for your knowledge.
Yes.
If you have to work it out for yourself.
And don't worry about mistakes that you make, because a lot of times we learn more from our mistakes than we do from doing it perfectly the first time.
Not only that, but the opportunity to learn the same lesson will come up more and more and more until you learn it.
Yes. It won't disappear until
No.
after you've got it down pat.
It can just become harder to get through the experience the longer you wait.
And in point of fact, you can't skip grades and you can't
No.
evolve from one level to the next level until you have attained strength and experience and wisdom on the level that you're on. Every aspect of
There-
the level that you're on has to be totally secure before they'll bump you up to the next level.
Yep, because what you learn from that level will help you to better understand the next level. If you try to skip it, then you're not going to be able to do it. It's like skipping a grade. I mean, unless you've at least learned all of the stuff in that particular grade, you're not going to understand anything else. You can't take trigonometry without first learning geometry.
Plus, in life, when you're bumped up a level, you require much more maturity to be able to handle the next harder level, because each level you go up gets harder and harder. If you're still at an immature level down here in many respects, what you could end up doing is actually sabotaging your growth by wigging out and maybe hurting somebody or destroying stuff or going crazy.
Yeah. When was the last time you took a toy from a 3-year-old? What? What is that? What did you do? It's fine. Now imagine trying to fire a 3-year-old.
They could come back with a gun and try and kill you.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Yes. So you have to be an adult at one level so that you can then be a child at the next level and start growing into that next level. You have to be an adult before you can graduate from that level to go up to the next level above.
Exactly.
And we have lots and lots of levels here on this planet.
Even in humanity, there are so many different levels of maturity. It's ridiculous.
From the lowest level criminal to the highest level saint and everything in between.
Yep, exactly.
Plenty of room for growth here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been noticing that some people, when they get really upset, they start jumping around and, throwing stuff in the air, and it's like, there is absolutely nothing in human experience that says that is intimidating, and yet they do that trying to intimidate people. Well, guess who does that? Monkeys.
and
Chimpanzees.
And little kids.
Yeah, and little kids too. But I mean,
right.
Point being is, I'm pretty sure they remember that used to work. I haven't seen more mature people do that. It's the really immature people that do that, the ones that don't seem to really get anything.
Yeah. And so you can pretty well tell that the people who are the least mature are the ones that are the lowest educational levels, and those who behave really maturely are getting into the higher levels.
Yeah, like the kid who is much more mature than his own parents.
Yes.
Taking care of their own parents and trying to be super responsible. Yeah. The kid has been around the block a few more times than the adult has.
And generally, a person is born into that kind of a family because it's part of their educational experience that they have to parent themselves from a very young age, and they have to pick up themselves by their bootstraps.
Either that, or they have to learn not to force somebody else to be in that situation. Because, I mean, it can be a lot of different things that you'd be forced to learn in a situation like that. Heck, it could even be multiples.
I know people think that we're born to parents accidentally, but I've got to tell you, an awful lot of thought goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's suppose you're still on the other side. You've just chosen the subject that you want to study for the next life. Those angels end up going back to where they can conduct research, and they're going to check over every single mating couple on the planet that you're going to. We'll assume it's Earth. And they're going to be checking for DNA to see, well, what kinds of DNA do these two people have that we can manipulate to make sure that the person that's going to be born has a body that's going to help them with their educational program. And if they don't, then that's one thing that's going to cut those people out of being possible parents. Are those people going to be able to provide the home environment? Is the town that they live in or the district that they live in going to provide the adequate environment for the person who's coming in for their education?
Are they going to have the proper educational requirements in their own lives
Right.
that this child will not mess up, that will maybe even help?
Right. So
Yeah.
once a person is born into a particular body, that was all done to set them up for their education. Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, fun, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was all done very deliberately to give us the best opportunity for our education. I'll tell you, I was rather shocked when I found out that the reason I was born with extreme motion sickness, so that I can't
Yeah.
sit in the back end of a car without getting so sick I end up throwing up. I can't be up in a plane without getting really sick so that I want to throw up. And what I found out was that I was born into a body deliberately super motion sickness,
Super motion sensitive.
super motion sensitive, because if I could have been up in the air all the time, because I love to fly, I would have been.
And
the
she
problem
would
was,
not have been dealing with any of her problems.
all of the stuff I had to deal with was down on this planet. So this body was designed deliberately to make it impossible for me to be up in the air and away from my problems, and instead down on the ground, facing them head on.
Yep. Because all you'd want to do is get up there and escape.
I would just want to have escaped.
And honestly, that is exactly the same as drinking yourself into a hole, getting high as a kite and ignoring everything else, or daydreaming yourself away. I mean, look at internet addiction. All you do is you go from site to site to site and you tap on the keys and you message all of these random people that you probably know very little about. I mean, I've been having to fight that. But all of it is an escape attempt. You're trying to escape your problems because they're too scary or too hard to deal with. But that defeats the purpose of being here.
It's like going to school, and instead of listening to the teacher and learning the different subjects, you say, well, I don't like that subject. You know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read my comic book and I'm going to ignore everything.
Yep.
And the only problem is you didn't learn history, or you didn't learn math, or you didn't learn science.
And it totally defeated the purpose of going to the class.
Well, not only that, but it's going to adversely affect you as an adult.
That's true, because now
Yes.
you can't take the more advanced classes because they're over your head.
What if you were supposed to be studying and learning Spanish, and then it turns out that later on you're working for a company that transfers you to a Spanish-speaking country like Mexico or Spain or someplace like that, and now you don't know Spanish because what were you doing? You were reading a comic book and you thought it would be okay. It's just like that.
Yeah. And they will design your life to build on the stuff that you learned earlier.
Right.
It is relevant, no matter how irrelevant you think it is because it's not relevant to somebody else's life. It is to yours.
So when you're getting hit with all kinds of horrible things that happen to people every year, try to understand it this way. I'm not a bad person. I'm a good student. And this is part of my necessary education. I have got to go through this the very best that I can, learn the most from it, and have the most positive outcome I can have from it. And if you can do it, then they'll allow you to move on to the next educational experience that comes up after you have successfully dealt with the last one. If you don't, they'll keep throwing the same one at you over and over again.
It's also important to note that even if you think everybody else's life is so much easier than yours, the thing is that your challenges are tailored specifically to you. Their challenges are tailored specifically to them, to their educational level, and to the things that are outside their comfort zone. So when you think that what they have to deal with is just oh so easy, but what you have to deal with is like horribly awful, you know, just remember, it's horribly awful to them too. It's just you would have an easy time dealing with it if it was your life.
Right. Which is why you're not dealing with it.
Yes.
Because it would be too easy.
Yep.
So we would like to leave you with one final understanding about life on this planet. Believe it or not, this is one of the most difficult schools in the universe.
We are Harvard.
Yes. Sylvia Browne used to say that there were hundreds of thousands of people who would look at how difficult life is on this planet and they would say, oh no, I am not going there. There are really easy schools which might have a medium type of educational program once every few years, and the rest of the time you get to just fool around having fun. There are medium grade schools that will have a few hard issues to deal with and some mediums and some lightweights and lots of time in between to deal with. And then there's Earth, where you get slammed and banged and shoved around and beaten up all the time. So why do people come here? And the answer is simple. Because you want to fast track your education. If you think about it, if everybody has to achieve the same amount of education to be able to get through this whole educational experience of being incarnated into bodies, then if you go to an easy school,
it's going to take forever.
Oh yes, you're going to be incarnating for a gazillion years. But if you come to a really tough place like Earth, you're going to be able to whisk through much faster as long as you understand why it is that you're here, you work with your educational program, and you get with it as much as you can, as fast as you can.
Yeah.
If you fight it, you're going to be here longer. Over and over and over again.
And it only gets harder.
Repeating the same lessons. Ah! Ask me how I know this.
Yeah, she's ready for a transfer.
I am ready. I am so ready for transfer. I actually already asked to be transferred someplace else. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not going to be back here again.
Well, we're going to have to see. I don't know. I may change my mind. When you go back home and you start looking at life on a planet, it kind of does that whole grass is always greener on the other side thing.
It's like remembering a dream. Your nightmares are never nearly as terrifying as when you're in them.
Yes.
Believe me, I have nightmares about missing the bus.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I kept coming back here so much rather than sticking with the transfer. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. For right now, my decision is to go someplace else next time.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and please follow the link down below to see my mom's website, lifebeforebirth.org, and give us a like if you like what we are telling you guys here, because, I mean, actually, just give us a comment. We really like hearing comments.
And we'd really like to know if anything that we've said here helps you to start dealing with some of the issues in your
Yes.
life
Oh, and if you remember anything, God, please tell us if you remember anything.
from before you
Yes.
were born in this body.
Yeah, from before you were born in this body, in a past life, on the other side, I don't care what. Heck, even if it's just a weird experience you don't quite understand, tell us. We would be more than happy to help you out with that. And honestly, it helps us to better understand what's going on and how many people are experiencing this stuff. So thank you very much for watching and have a great day. Bye!
Bye.